What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Off Limits Podcast. As you can see, we have a very special guest with us today. It's a good friend that we have, Mike Ramirez, the one and only.
That's my name on this screen.
How you been, Mike?
Been good, man. Been super busy with life, ministry. I have a wife now. We've been married. Actually, August will be 6 years for us.
Dang, time flies.
Yeah. So we actually just got a puppy.
Oh, nice.
A dog.
So yeah, that's been crazy. He barks all night. But yeah, man, been good. Life has been good. God has been good.
Yeah, I appreciate you accepting the invitation. I know I asked you at the district kickoff service if you would be willing to come on. You said for sure anything you need. So we appreciate your friendship and your willingness to be here and your time. I know it's important and I know your time, valuable time.
Yeah, y'all are family, man. So let's do it.
It was funny when you said the Mike Ramirez, but you actually are kind of the Mike Ramirez. It's funny because people in other districts, especially, we have cousins that go to, I don't know what the district is. Where Tulare is? I don't know what that is.
Bakersfield.
Valley?
Yeah.
So, like, a lot of people from there, like, they really look up to you. Then they met E-Man. I remember the people from my church, when they met you and E-Man, they're like, oh, you guys know Mike? You guys know E-Man? I'm like...
They're like, those guys are the goats.
I'm like, yeah, I know them. Like, so how does it feel? We're going to go a little off topic, but how did it feel to get to... Or do you feel that you are...
Honestly, man, I'm just a servant. I know that's so cliche to say. I know God has placed me in positions of influence. But, you know, my heart is at home, right? And that's my biggest stage of ministry. Because I got young guys at home. I got, like, little ones at home that need, like, positive influences. Not that their parents aren't, but sometimes as a kid growing up, like, you don't want to listen to your dad. You don't want to listen to your mom. You look at who's on stage. You look at what they're doing, right? So my biggest goal has always been to make sure that, like, I'm so privileged to do what I do on the national level, on the national stage. But my biggest ministry has always been, like, I have to be home. I want to be home. That's always been my heart. That's where my heart is at right now. So when people say, "Oh, Mike Ramirez," MOP stuff, like, it's an honor and it's a privilege, but you know, I count it all a blessing. But my biggest blessing is at home for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you talk about, like, being, I guess, a mentor, being there for people that are, like, younger. Let's talk about your early childhood and what does that look like for Mike Ramirez?
So I was born in Long Beach, California, and I was born into church.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know what it's like to be outside of church or backslide or anything. And I think that's a huge testimony for me, is that God has kept me from that. But growing up, my grandpa was the pastor from the late Pastor Frank Ramirez. He passed away in 2014. But I grew up in his church in Long Beach. I was the kid that slept under the benches, sit in the first two rows, fight with my brother, get called out by my grandpa. I was what they call a high energy kid. So I was always getting in trouble. I remember one time we had two sets of stairs at my church, one going down from the sanctuary to kind of the lobby area. And then from the lobby area, there's like a set of like 15, 16 steps that go down to the kitchen. And I remember I jumped from the sanctuary to the lobby floor, which was like 7 steps. And I was like, oh, that was easy. Oh yeah, I can double it. So then I tried to jump from the lobby to the bottom steps. And man, by the grace of God, I got caught midair by my tia. And she's like, you're not going to be doing that. I was like 6 or 7 years old. But I've always been super energetic when I was a kid, and just everywhere, always getting in trouble, always climbing things, climbing the roof, climbing the attic. So yeah, childhood growing up for me was church. It was all church. Sundays we had 2 services, 10 o'clock and 5 p.m. And then Mondays was prayer. Tuesdays was kind of our only day off. Wednesdays we had Bible study. Thursdays we had rehearsal. Fridays we had service, right? So our only days off during the week were most likely like Tuesdays and Saturdays. And Saturdays was always like a district event,
Yeah.
right? So growing up for me was always church, um, church. That's what I grew up in, you know. So I definitely had a blessed childhood. Wonderful parents, Frank and Gabby. Um, you know, they put a lot of time and effort into raising me and my siblings. I have an older brother and a younger sister, so childhood for me was an amazing time, um, and it's kind of what molded me into who I am today. Seeing my dad minister and seeing how much time he devoted to church, that kind of built in that the desire to serve, right? Seeing him doing everything he did, you know, with the treasury and leading the men's department, and he's always had meetings after church. So I grew up like, oh, that's just what you do. You have meetings after church, and the wife waits, and the family waits, and so for me, that kind of built up the desire, like, oh, I want that, because I want to be like my dad,
Yeah.
right? That's my ultimate goal in life. And seeing him work through that for me, I was like, that was inspiring for me. It's like, I want to be in ministry. I want to be able to do that. In the future, like attend meetings where my wife has to wait for me. And honestly, it's come full circle now. I have to attend meetings that I don't like attending anymore, right? As a kid, you want to attend them. Now I'm like, I just want to go home. My wife patiently waits for me. But yeah, man, it's been a full circle. And childhood for me was amazing.
Yeah, we love your dad.
Yeah.
Your brother,
Shout out
brother
to
Frank, he's super.
legendary.
Yeah.
Shout out, Brother Frank. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I didn't even know you had John as your older brother until I think he started hanging around because my brother married his wife. I didn't even know you had an older brother until like it was pretty recently. 6 years ago. How long ago they got married? 7 years. I knew about Tabby.
Yeah. So a lot of people don't know that
Yeah.
actually. My brother and sister are very they're more on the introvert side.
Yeah.
I got lucky with the extrovert side, I guess, you know, out in ministry and stuff. I have an older brother. He is 38 in August. He'll be 38. And then I have a younger sister. My older brother's name is John. And my younger sister is Tabby. You know Tabby. But a lot of people, when I travel out somewhere, they always think like I'm an only child. No, I'm the middle.
I know. I didn't know
I
that
have an
till
older brother
older.
and a younger sister. So
Yeah.
growing up with them has been pretty cool.
So there was no middle child syndrome for you to feel.
I mean, that's debatable. Some would say that I'm an overachiever. You know, like I love sports. I always, you know, growing up in middle school and high school, I played, you know, sports and stuff. So I always try to be the best. I always want to be the best. I'm very competitive. So some would say that I have middle child syndrome. Me personally, I don't know. I just know I'm competitive. I like to win, and in everything I do, I strive to be quote unquote the best. Right? I know that sounds arrogant, but you know, pray for me. I'm working through that.
Well, I think it's good. Right? You should
Yeah.
strive to be
Best.
the best. I think that's a good.
Yeah, and it's funny you bring up sports. Most people don't know, at least if they didn't grow up with you, that you actually played high school football.
I did. I played high school football. It started off, my desire to play football started off in middle school. I wanted to join the flag football team. Like, yeah, I want to do that. I never played with like pads in my life. The only reason I wanted to play flag football is because when I was in elementary school, my dad put me in a after school program because I was very energetic. I had a lot of stored up energy. I didn't know what to do with, so I was always getting in trouble. So he put me in flag football in elementary, right? And then we went undefeated, won the championship. And I got the taste of victory, right? And so I was like, oh, I want this. I want this all the time.
Yeah.
So I joined our middle school team, and then we also went undefeated at Rogers Middle School when I was in seventh grade, my first year. We went undefeated, won the city championship. I remember we played at Wilson High School for the championship. Then they brought out their drum line and everything. And I was like, I want this. I want this. So the next year I played flag football. And then my freshman year, I went to Long Beach Wilson. And I was like, yeah, memories, right? Championship memories. So I joined the football team my first year in pads. It took some getting used to, but eventually they pulled me up from freshman to varsity.
Oh, nice.
So I played varsity for 4 years. I started for 3.5. So halfway through the freshman season, I started for varsity, um, and then so I played 4 years varsity, and then um, had a great time. I was all city, all league. Um, had some scholarships available on the table for me. It didn't work out. I was in my arrogance, right? I thought that there would be exceptions made for me as far as SATs were concerned.
Mm.
Um, so I didn't take my SATs, and the day that I went to go register for my SATs, the day before had been the deadline for the late registration, right? And I was already in my senior year, so the basically the clock passed for me, and I was like, oh man. And so my dad told me, he said, either you get a scholarship to go play football at a university, or you're gonna go to Bible college. So I was like, all right. So then I ended up going to Bible college. Um, and honestly, I think God saved me. God saved me from football, and that was my passion. That was my dream, and I think I was good enough to make it, to the next levels. Um, but only God knows. If I would have made it to those next levels, I'm not sure that I'd be in the place I am today as far as ministry and my wife and family and things like that. So I think God had different plans. It's funny, I always say when we make plans, God laughs. Right?
Yeah.
So God had different plans for me for sure, and I don't regret it. I am blessed beyond measure.
Yeah, like it was a good point. The plans that we make are not always in our best interest.
Yeah.
It's not always the plans of God.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about CLC for those people who don't know what CLC is.
Yeah. So CLC it's Christian Life Center. Christian Life Center. That's my church. I went to Bible College, Christian Life College. It's in Stockton, California. It's a UPCI church, and they have a Bible college there. And it's actually grown pretty large. So I went there in 2000. I graduated in 2007. So I went up there from 2007 to 2010. Went up to Bible college. My initial plan was I'm gonna go to Bible college for a semester. Then I'm gonna come back home and I'm gonna play junior college football, and then I'll transfer to university, and then I'll go to the league. Right. So that was my plans. But I went up there to COC. I went up for the semester, and I just met amazing people. I love the atmosphere there. And I'm like, all right, I'll stay. I'll stay one more semester, and then I ended up staying the year, and then made good friends, and God opened up doors as far as ministry is concerned, and I was like, man, I got to come back. So, long story short, I planned to go for a semester, and then I ended up going for like 3 years. Um, I had to come back home because when we were up there, the stock market crashed, right? And it was really hard to find a job. It's really hard to pay off school bills and things like that, and I just couldn't afford it anymore. So I ended up having to come home. I think I owe them like $10,000 still. Honestly, what's up, buddy?
Tell them, buddy.
Um, but yeah, I couldn't afford to be up there anymore, so I came back home. But honestly, my time up there was amazing. I met amazing people. I had the opportunity to sing at I don't know if you guys know what's called NAYC, North American Youth Congress. So back in 2009, it was in Nashville, Tennessee. So I was able to sing in front of like 25,000 people. And to me, I was like, oh my God, that was my first ever major, like, man, this is a lot of people, right? So, but it was a blast. We had so much fun. Um, that was the end of our summer tour. So we spent the entire summer basically touring. Our team was the music team. So we were touring basically throughout the Rocky Mountain District area. So that's Wyoming, North Dakota, Montana, South Dakota, all that area, right? We spent, I want to say, I think it was 9 weeks touring the area in a van with 9 people. So Imagine being stuck in a van for 9 weeks, bro. Man, it's a learning experience. I was like this close to coming home. I called my dad mid tour. I was like, Dad, I can't do this anymore. Like, I need to come home. Like, you need to fly me home.
Cause that was pre iPhone, right? It was like
Yeah,
pre everything.
yeah, yeah. It was pre everything. So he was like, all right. And then the next day, he's like, you know what? I thought about it. You gotta learn. He's like, you have to learn how to deal with conflict. You gotta learn how to deal with doing things you don't want to do because in life, things are gonna happen that you don't want to do. You can't just run away. So I was like, Dad, what you said. He's like, no, you're gonna stay. All right. So I finished the tour, and the tour culminated at North American Youth Congress. We had like 6 different groups go out on tour throughout the nation. And one tour is lucky they got to go to Hawaii for their tour.
Nice.
Lucky. But we ended up at in Nashville at NAYC, and we sang as a group, and man, it was amazing. We won the competition.
Oh.
They had a search for talent competition, so our group was called Kevin Daniel and Encounter. Um, we won the competition. We won a song. We ended up recording a song. It was never released. It kind of fell off the map, but I recorded a song. That was my first ever recording.
That's the first ever one.
First ever one. But yeah, man, CLC was a huge part of my ministry. That's where I started to learn how to sing.
That's what I'm gonna say.
So I wanted to be a drummer. My goal in life was I want to be the drummer for a national convention.
Yeah.
I want to be E-Man, right? So I grew up. I grew up on drums. Drums is my first love, right? And so that was always my goal. And I went up to COC, and they have this rule that even if you're a musician,
Yes.
you have to sing. You have to try out to sing. You're going to be on the praise team, even if you're a musician, whether you're good or not. All right. And as a little kid, I could always carry a tune, but singing wasn't my passion, you know. So I tried out to sing, and then I remember his brother Denny. He's like, "All right, well, um, you're not gonna play drums." He's like, "You're not gonna touch the drums here." He's like, "You're a little bit too busy, but we're gonna have you sing." I was like, "All right, I guess." So then I started singing, and I developed my abilities at Christian Life College. Um, and yeah, started getting opportunities, started singing with the choirs, the chorales, started leading worship there. So a lot of my ministry was because at COC, Brother Denny said, "You're not going to play drums, you're going to sing." Right. So that's kind of what birthed my worship leader ministry. And then I came home, started leading worship, started singing, took over the praise team for my auntie, and the same auntie that grabbed me from the stairs.
Yeah.
She was our music director, so she passed the reins to me, and just kind of went from there. But Christian Life College was a huge birthing place for my ministry.
And you never wanted to go back to the drums, or after you finished CLC?
Yes and no. Drums has always been my first love, and like if I had a choice to go to a camp and they said, "You want to play drums? You want to lead worship?" I'm always gonna say I want to play drums. It's my love. It's my first love, right? It's what I love doing. It's what I enjoy doing. But I know that God has called me, um, in this season to lead worship. So um, drums will always be my preference. Drums or piano, right? Any instrument. I like being a musician.
So which instruments can you play?
Um, can I play now, or have I ever played?
Have you ever played?
All right. In elementary, I played cello. Then in middle school, I played trumpet and French horn. And then in church, I can play piano, bass, guitar. Um, Guitars in like acoustic. I can't play electric; it hurts my fingers. And then drums. But like basically any instrument in church, any church instrument, I can hold it down for like a service.
Because your grandpa, I believe, played the saxophone, right?
No, my grandpa actually played the trumpet.
Trumpet.
He played the trumpet. And church was good when Pastor Frank brought out his trumpet. And he started playing. Man, everyone would go crazy, start running around in circles. And those are the good old days. But, yeah, man.
It's crazy. I didn't know. I always wondered how you went from drums to worship leader because I met you at a junior camp and you were a drummer there at Camp Sealy. And so that always stuck out to me because then out of nowhere you like led either a youth service or a junior camp service and you led worship and I was like, what? Well,
what's funny though is actually Pastor Alex. He gave me my first opportunity in the district because when he was president, they started this thing called Access Service.
Yeah.
So my first opportunity to lead worship was at an Access Service right after I came back from Christian Life Center, which is funny is because that's how I met Ruth, who's now my wife.
At Access?
Not because of Access Service. So I was at Christian Life College, and I get a call from it was Frank Martinez.
Okay.
Right, and so they said, "Hey, we're starting this Access Service. We want you to come lead worship." But I was at college, so I was like, It's been like 3 years since I've been in LA. I don't know anyone. Like, I don't know who sings, who doesn't. So I hit up my friend. Her name was Naomi. I don't know if you guys remember her. She was.
Hernandez? Or which one?
No. What was her last name? I don't remember her last name, honestly. I just know she was in COA.
Okay.
She was in COA at the time. COA's the City of Angels District Choir. So she was my friend. I met her at a camp. We were cool. I said, "Hey, can you put together a team for me? Because I don't really know anyone." So she put together a team, and Ruth just happened to be on that team. And I'd never met her. I didn't know anyone really on the team. Like, I knew the homies, right? But there were some names I'm like, I don't know who this is. So I called everyone on that list to kind of introduce myself and say, "Hey, thank you for accepting. I'm gonna send out the set list shortly," because we didn't have group text back then, right? Everything was phone call. And Ruth just happened to be the last one on my list. So I called her and I was like, "Hey, my name is Mike. Thank you for accepting." And what was supposed to be like a 2-minute, 5-minute invite, thank you. We ended up talking for like 2 hours. Yeah, on the phone for the first time, and it wasn't anything like, it wasn't like flirtatious. It wasn't like I'm trying to holler at you. It was just good conversation. We were just talking about life, and she was asking, "Oh, where are you at?" I was like, "Oh, my Christian Life College," and we just started chatting it up, and it was just like easy, smooth connection. Again, it wasn't flirting. I wasn't trying to be smooth or like, "Oh, girl, It wasn't nothing like that. It was
You hadn't
just,
seen her at this point.
no, I didn't know what she looked like. I was like, "Oh, this girl's cool." So I was like, "Hey, you're cool." It was like, is it cool if, like, if you texting, we're homies? I had no intention of like falling in love with this girl. I was just like, she's cool. She's easy to talk to. And I remember she came in for rehearsal for that Access Service, and she walked in. I was like, "Oh, I could marry this girl." Like, just offhand, I was like, "I could marry this girl." And then, fast forward 10 years later, we're married and God's been good. But Pastor Alex actually gave me the first opportunity through Access Service, right? Because Frank called me, but it has to be approved through the board, right? So Pastor Alex gave me my first opportunity in the assembly to lead worship.
So how did that transition go from being the first, like, that was your reintroduction and back to the Valley District? And how do you go from being reintroduced to now being
where you are,
the lead organizer for convention? That's a lot of years.
That's a crazy story, honestly. So when I came back from Bible college, I led worship at LA District for the first time. I started. You guys remember the basketball league?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I joined the basketball league, and I was
Locos, right?
Yeah, Apostol Locos. I was on James' team.
Yeah, great time.
My brother, that's how we.
And he would have no rehearsals. He would have practices. So where I was at, it was 2011. I was at a basketball practice, and it was getting late. My cousin called me and was like, "Hey, I'm in town. We're working on Nuestro Canto 2 at Aaron Barbosa's church." He's like, "And I'm in town, and come say hi to me. So I just come from practice. I was in shorts, slides, and a hoodie. I was like, I'm not trying to see no one. I'm just going to say hi to my cousin and then bounce. So I walk in, and I park, and I'm like, hey, I'm here. She's like, all right, come inside. I'm like, all right, I'm in shorts. So I just put on my hood real quick and just go say hi. And bounce. So I walk in, and say hi to her. I'm like, hey, how you doing? It's good to see you. And she's like, yeah, Siobhan's sitting there. Like, oh, hey, Siobhan, whatever. And then Aaron Barbosa sees me. And I wasn't really like in the scene like that at the time, but he knew who I was. Um, and he said, "Hey, Mike, you know this song?" And I don't want to look dumb because the whole choir was there, so everyone turns around. I'm like, "Oh yeah, yeah." He's like, "All right, come try it." I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm in shorts, slides, and a hoodie, and I didn't know the song. I just didn't want to look dumb in front of people." So he called me up. He was like, "Here are the lyrics." I was like, "Oh, okay," but like, it was a NorCal song, and I remember growing up, I was listening to NorCal all the time, so I kind of got the hang. I was like, "Oh, okay, I think I remember this song." So anyway, that rehearsal is like, "All right, how do you feel?" I was like, "Oh yeah, it was cool." He's like, "All right, you're gonna do it for Nuestro Canto." And I'm like, "What in the world?" Um, like to go from I'm just visiting my cousin to now I have a solo on the Apostolic Assembly project. Like I was like, why? Like, I'm not qualified. Aaron didn't know I sang. At least I don't think he knows that I sang. Um, but like after years, I asked, he's like, "What made you?" He's like, "God just told me like to open the door for you." I was like, "Okay, well, thank you." Um, so, anyways, because of that, I started working with Aaron more, and I have very excellent administrative skills, and it's one of my fortes. Like I'm very good at organizing, scheduling, tasks, things like that. Um, and so I started working with Aaron more, and Aaron is very creative, but he needs help with the admin side of things, or he did at that time, right? So that's where I came in. So I started working really closely with him. He's like, Mikey, put together a team for me. I was like, all right, cool. So and so and so and so. Hey, you guys available? Cool. So I'd make the phone calls, text, whatever. I'd put together teams for him. Um, and so that gave me the opportunity to work with Aaron closely. I joined Awaken, his band, and then he was put in charge of convention. So in 2013, so my first time working with him was 2011. Then 2013, he was put in charge of the convention team. So he asked me to put together a team. So I did. And I was like, oh yeah, Ruthie, and then Kim. It was Kim Salazar at the time. Now she's Kim Garza, right? The Bishop President's daughter. Um, so I started working at the convention level with Aaron, serving under him. He was the boss. I just basically put the teams together and said, hey, these people need rooms. So I started doing all the legwork underneath Aaron's leadership. And then after Aaron, it was Nate Pena. And Nate became the MD. And Nate's like, hey, Mike, I still need you to do all this stuff. I was like, all right, cool, I got you. I was just happy to serve. I was just like, I wasn't looking for a leadership position. Naturally, I'm a leader, so I take charge of things. But I wasn't looking to be the music director. I was happy to have someone else make the decisions, and I'm hey, whatever you guys say, I'm just here. And then that was under Pastor Omar's administration. Aaron was MD, not Aaron. Nate was MD, and I was his right hand guy, working with him and organizing. And then Pastor Jacob came along. Um, and he asked me. I remember I was at work. He asked me, "Hey, we want you to take charge of convention." And um, I was like, "Oh man, okay." So I still brought Nate back, and I was like, "Hey, I need help. Help me to lead. Like I don't know what the process is." So Nate and Aaron both mentored me into the leadership position. Um, so honestly, the thing that opened up the door was me walking into Aaron's church at a choir rehearsal with shorts and a hoodie, and he was like, Mike, you're going to do this song. Right? So for me, that opened up the door to convention. And then since 2016, I have been the music coordinator. for the MOP, and man, it's been a journey. God's been good. It's been amazing, an amazing journey, and God's been good. And yeah, that's how it started. Well, at Aaron's church, Aaron called me out and says, "You know the song?" I was like, "Yeah," because I was arrogant and didn't want to look dumb. And yeah, that's what basically started my Apostolic Assembly MOP ministry.
Is that track on Nuestro Canto? The one?
Yeah, it is. It's on Nuestra Canto too. I don't
Are
remember
you
what it's
headline? Are
called.
you like tagged in the? Did they do tags back then? You know how it says like who's on it?
Featured
Maybe.
Mike Ramirez or
I don't know.
Running around there.
I really
we
don't
used
know.
to listen to that all the
those
time.
are
CDs.
the CDs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we used to listen to that one all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe it is. I think, but I have no clue.
Yeah, but willing to do it. I'm sure it wouldn't have been easy to walk in and then sing.
Yeah, man, it was crazy. But honestly, I think CLC prepared me for that, for things like that. There's a lot of impromptu, like, hey, come sing the song. Because we'd go to churches. I remember, man, I have a crazy story. It's kind of off topic. But you'd have to be ready for everything and anything. We went to in Montana, we went to a church and they had a funeral. And the person that passed away didn't have any family, didn't have any loved ones. They just went to the church. So the church asked us, the music team, to be the people giving the eulogy, the people, the pallbearers. Like, so I was a pallbearer and I gave eulogy for someone that I never met in my entire life. So that kind of, COC taught me how to like be prepared for impromptu things, be prepared for things you're not expecting. So when I walked in to Aaron's church, he's like, you know the song? He's like, come do it. My not panic mode was some mode kicked in. I was like, all right, let's get it. Right. So it's because I don't want to look dumb in front of everyone. But yeah, man, it's crazy that God opened the door that way. You know.
Yeah, so you said 2016 was you started.
Yeah, I started the NYA ministry and NYA ministry. That's funny. I started working with MOP, NYAs and leading and things like that in 2016.
You touched on that they first asked you to put teams together.
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like? What do you look for aspiring musicians who maybe want to make it onto the stage with you
Oh
one
man,
time?
that's so funny because my criteria has changed over the years. So when I first started, I just wanted the best of the best. Right? I wanted each region that I'm going to, like, give me the best you got. Right? But then I started noticing that the best doesn't necessarily mean the easiest to work with. Right? So then my criteria started changing. Now it's like I want good, but I want people that are easy to work with. Right? And then the people that were easy to work with sometimes were a little bit lazy. Sometimes didn't show up to rehearsals. That's big for me. I'm like, you have to show up to rehearsals. Like, if you can't commit to a rehearsal, there's no reason you should be on the stage, right? So then I'm like, okay, I want someone who's good, easy to work with, committed, right? So I started building up all these criterias. So I would say now the biggest thing for me is obviously the talent. That's a given. You have to have the talent, right? Because I don't want to put someone on a team that doesn't have the ability and everyone else has to carry them, right? Everyone needs to pull their own weight as far as gifting is concerned. So talent, it's a prerequisite. You have to have that. You have to have the gifting. And for me, the number one thing is character. Like when I'm putting teams together, especially for like regional events, NYAs, things like that, I reach out to the district leaders, say, hey, how is this person at district events? Have they ministered at district events? What's their character like? Are they easy to work with? And obviously, there's sometimes bias with certain leaders, but that's the best way I can gauge if someone's involved or not. Because I don't think it's fair to put someone at a national level if they've never served at the district level, right? Especially on this magnitude. But there are people that I've seen, I'm like, oh, I'm going to use them at the national level. So I can reach out to the district leader and they're like, Yeah, they don't really attend district events. Every time we invite them, they say no. You know, they think, we get the kind of the vibe that district things are beneath them. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm good then. We'll move on to the next. So, I want someone with a spirit of servanthood, someone who's committed, willing to come to rehearsals. I know this past convention we used people outside of the state, which is hard. It's not easy to do, but we had Zoom rehearsals, and there were some that didn't come to the rehearsals. So for me, I'm like, all right, well, maybe I won't go that direction again. But there are some who live far in different time zones that made every single rehearsal. I'm like, I appreciate that. Like they're on my list. Like for future, like if there's an event in their area, whatever the case is, I know I can rely on them. I can count on them. So the criteria for teams has changed quite a bit. Now I don't even pick the teams. I delegate people to pick the teams. So right now, as MOP coordinator, I rely a lot on Brooke and Aaron Arceo. So Brooke picks the teams, the praise teams. She collaborates with district leaders, and then Aaron Arceo works on the band. And so basically, my role has changed. Like I don't do a lot of the legwork anymore. I delegate to different people. Another person I use a lot is Osias. So I delegate to different people. I say, hey, just give me the names, and I'll submit them. Like basically, I become a liaison between the MOP board and the music team who actually does all the work. Like I have the title of music coordinator, but truthfully, they do the legwork, and I'm just a liaison. So if they need something, hey, we need more money, or we need drum set, or we need whatever the case is, I go to bat for them at the national level for either NYAs or convention. Most of the time, the battles happen at the convention level. We need more rooms, or we need this, or we need that, or whatever the case is. That's basically what my job has turned into, is running the logistics for the music team so they can be successful.
And you touched about going to different regional events, and now that you do it with Ruthie, how's that been? I know it's a big jump, but like, or you want to touch on how you got with Ruthie, how that process looked like, and now serving with her at all? Because we always see you now, like, oh, Mike's in Texas, Mike's over here now. Like, man, Mike's going everywhere.
So how has it been traveling with her?
Mm-hmm.
Man, there is nothing like being able to travel and minister with your wife. Truthfully, honestly, man, it's such a blessing. And I get it why sometimes ministers and pastors and preachers and evangelists will say, I don't want to travel without my wife. Because it's true, it's a different vibe, it's a different feel. When your wife is there, it's like you're a rock. Like, if no one else is responding, she'll respond. If no one else is catching on, she'll catch on. It's like it's a safety net. So whenever I'm ministering with her, it's funny, man. It's whenever I go somewhere, to Texas or Chicago or wherever else, it's never, hey Mike, how you doing? It's good to see you. It's always like, hey Mike, where's Ruthie? And to me, like that gives me pride and joy to know that everywhere I go, people know her, people love her, and people just want to be around her. They're like genuinely asking, like, "Where's Ruthie? We're so excited to see her." And then I'll be like, "Oh, she couldn't make it this time." And you can see the genuine disappointment, like, "Oh, my daughter wanted to meet her, or so and so. Man, we were looking forward to having her." So for me, it's such a blessing to be able to minister, to be able to be married to a ministry giant. She's 4'9", right? So she's not a giant, but she's has a giant ministry, and to be able to say that, I was able to marry her and travel with her and minister with her. I married up. I married up for sure.
And I always appreciate Ruthie. She always helped my mom a lot when she was the president and part of the ladies board. She was Ruthie as well.
And Ruthie's always willing, man. She's always willing, always available, as much as she can. I know she had we actually had a discussion this week. She's like, babe, like I'm getting invited to all these events, and like I feel bad that I have to turn some down. I was like, all right, well, you got to realize if you don't turn some down, you're gonna have back to back to back to back weekends which means you're not going to be able to give you 100% to everyone. There's going to be one that's not going to be able to get you 100% because you're tired, you're burnt out. So she was like really hard on herself. She had to deny a couple events that she was invited to because I counseled her. I was like, you can't do back to back. That's too hard for you. You're gonna get stressed out, you're gonna get burned out, and you're gonna come home from a hard day at work, and you're gonna take it out on me. No, but I just counseled her to, be mindful of how many events she takes in a month, because she's counseled me. I've taken multiple events in a month, and I'm like burned. I'm tired. I'm grouchy, and so she would tell me, "Is like when you do this, this happens. So from now on, you're not going to be doing back to back to back to back events. She's like maximum 2 events in a month. But you got it, boss." So it's been a blessing being married to her, having her come along with me in ministry events. With the MOP stuff, she's able to come along on some, but not on all. But yeah, man, when she's able to go, it's like it's a whole different experience.
So, what are some tips that you can give, I guess, to like local leaders who are working on the musical teams to like counsel them how, or what do you, how has your progression grown as being a leader in terms of like counseling people? Do you counsel your local church members,
Um,
or do you direct them to? I mean, there's a lot of people, especially like in our church, a smaller church, people who are looking for ways to grow, or your church might not be able to provide it, or might lack the person that's like that skilled. What are resources that you've used or that you can recommend to people to try to grow and develop their ministry?
yeah, man. So I think there's always ways to improve your church. There's always ways to improve your ministry. But it takes commitment, right? And sometimes it takes investment. And not just investment time wise, investment money wise, right? You have to be willing to invest in something in order for it to grow. It has to cost you something, whether that be money, time, sacrifice. Nothing grows without cost, right? So if someone's looking to grow their ministry, grow the church, and they feel that at their church they're just not able to grow, I'll say you can grow. There's always ways to improve, right? A big area for us was we never live streamed. We didn't have the technology for that. We didn't have any of that. Um, and then 2020 COVID hit, and we went all remote. We had nothing. We started off with the phone, and then we talked to pastors like, "Hey, this isn't sustainable. Like if we want to reach people, we have to be able to have live stream equipment. We have to do it." So praise God for a pastor who was willing to invest. We ended up buying um, all the equipment needed, cameras for live stream, and slowly we've kind of progressed and upgraded over time. But these were all new positions. Like no one knew how to live stream direct. We didn't know how to work a camera. We didn't know how to do any of that, right? But it all became because in the time of crisis we were put in a position where we have to figure out a way, right? And I say that to say if someone in their local church is not feeling that they're growing, why don't you start a new ministry? Try something that you're passionate about. What are you passionate about? Cooking? Are you passionate about cleaning? Do you love people? Do you have a greeting ministry? Like, there's so many ways to improve the church, right? And first, you start off by talking with your pastors. Like, hey, I have a passion for this. What can we do? How can we contribute to your vision? Like, get under your pastor's vision. Support them. I know our at our church, our English team has just started booming, right? We started our small groups. My wife and I have a small group for young married couples who just come together. And um, I think the biggest thing for me, to go back to the question, is the biggest thing for me is that there is always an area that you can improve in, always an area of opportunity for ministry somewhere, some way, right? All you have to do is find the way. It's not always going to be the thing that you want to do, right? It doesn't have to be platform ministry. It doesn't have to be singing or preaching or being a musician. That's not all what ministry entails.
Yeah, that was a really good point. That it's not always going to be serving in what you want to do, but serving in things that are opportunities that are available to your local church. And you mentioned that you have a lot of different ministries or opportunities at your church.
Yeah, so we have our English ministry has been growing, and it's opened up a lot of different ministry teams. We've had the opportunity to grow the usher team. We have a greeting team, security, parking attendants, right? So we have a lot of different areas of ministry that there's a need, right? And if you're really in it for the ministry, then you'll serve wherever there's a need, wherever there's a need. And so for me, like growing up, if someone needed a vacuum, hey, let's vacuum, right? I know it's so cliche to say, hear pastors and preachers be like, yeah, if you need a vacuum, do it. If you need to clean the toilets, do it. But the truth is, when you have a heart of ministry, you just want to serve. And for me, because I'm competitive, like I want to be the best vacuumer. I want to be the best I want to put up the most tables. I want to fold up the most chairs, right? So for me growing up, like I wanted to be the best. I wanted to do the most. And and I think that kind of turned into like a spirit of excellence. You don't have to be perfect at what you do, right? But you have to be excellent. So all that to say, in church, there's always the areas of opportunity, always areas that you can improve in. And it doesn't always necessarily have to be something that you want to do, right? First, you have to have the gifting to do that thing, right? You're not going to put someone on a platform who can't sing, who can't preach. That's just the bottom line. Because it become a distraction. You're not going to put someone in cooking ministry who cannot cook, right? You're not going to put someone on the greeting team who's just a mean grouch, right? You have to have the gifting for the ministry that you want. Just because you like a ministry doesn't mean you're gifted for it. So first and foremost, you have to have the gifting for it, and then you have to have the passion for it. If you're passionate about something, you're going to give it your all. You're going to do everything you can to be excellent in that ministry, right? So gifting and passion are the first and foremost things. And if not, then I mean, I'm not sure we can find a lot of people who are passionate about cleaning toilets, right? Sure, there are some, but you have to have the passion to serve in whatever capacity is needed. And the church is always in need of someone willing to serve.
Awesome. In your spirit of excellence, has that ever clashed with Ruthie or Mary? Any issues that have arisen between you wanting to be segueing into like marriage advice now? Or
Not necessarily. She also has a spirit of excellence. We may have contrasting views of what excellent is in specific areas that we don't always agree on things. And in music, particularly, I think it's crazy that we both have the same ministry, but the music is the thing that we disagree on the most, right? And that's okay. Like it's okay to have different opinions and different ideas of what set list to do, what song to do, or how a part should go. Um, but you learn to work through it. I know when I first got married, it was a little difficult because I'm the music director, right? And I'm bringing my wife in who knows me on a different level, right? And she would challenge me um, in an open forum, like in front of people. And so for me, I'm like, what are you doing? Now everyone else is going to challenge. And, and it's okay to challenge, right? In certain settings. Um, but we kind of had to talk through that and work through it like, hey, when we're at practice, you're part of the team and I'm the leader. Like, and I understand your opinion is valued, but if I want something to go a certain way for a specific reason, then we have to do that. Um, and I told her, I was like, when we're at home, you're my wife, and your opinion is valued, and we're equals. We're right here. When we're at church and the music ministry, I am the designated leader. Pastor, gave me that responsibility. So we're not equals at that level. Um, you are submitted to me in that position, right? So that was a conversation we had to have, and it wasn't an easy conversation, right? But she understood. She's like, "You're right," and I said, "If you wanted to um, change my opinion on something, or see, if you can sway me, there's a different approach than just saying no, you're wrong, right?" So I had to kind of coach her on how to approach me, how to change my mind, and I think that in itself has really helped our relationship in ministry, be able to communicate with each other effectively, and has helped our team too, because now my team has caught on to that, and they're like, "Hey, Mike, what if just an idea? What if we do this?" And now I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. That'd be cool," So I think she's taught the team how to approach it differently, because sometimes I can be very stubborn. I want my way, and that's the way I want it. So she's definitely come in and brought a whole new light on how to approach and how to change the leader's mind, things like that. So now it's an all inclusive, like, hey, I want you guys' opinion. What do you guys think? However you guys want to do it, let's do it. So it's her coming in has really changed the culture of the team.
Yeah, so your NYA career, it's been a fruitful one, a long one. Been about, you said 2016?
Yeah, it started in 2016.
2016. We're in 2024.
8 years.
8 years.
Yeah.
Sheesh. Do you feel it? Like, does your body feel?
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm tired. I'm tired, and it's funny. A lot of people think that it's hey, but Mike, man, it's so cool. You get to travel, and it's a blessing. It's 100% a blessing. But it's work. It's not like it's not glamorous.
Yeah.
Right? People just see the lights and the stage, and
Traveling.
yeah, and that's all they see, right? But here's what a typical NYA weekend looks like. I fly out Friday morning, right? Depending on where it's at. Like if it's Chicago, I have to fly out at 6 a.m., 5 a.m. to be there by like 2 p.m. Right? Because it's the turnaround time. It's like a 4-hour flight, and then we lose 2 hours, right? So then we land. If we have time, I get something to eat real quick. We'll go to a drive, no, not drive through. We'll go to the hotel. I have to change, right? Then I have to go to sound check, make sure everything's good to go. We sound check, um, and and then we'll go right into service. And after service, we'll go out to eat. Usually service ends around like 9:30, 10. Then we go out to eat. By the time we get back to the hotel, it's like 12:30, 1. So knock out. I have to wake up early to pack up, get dressed. We have to be at sound check at 8 a.m. Service starts at 9. And then from 9 to 11, it's the service, the conference. And then from 11 to 12, we have rehearsal for the 1 p.m. service. At 12 o'clock, you got a little bit of time to eat. 12:30, you have pre-service. And then you go into 1 p.m. service. Service goes from 1 to like 3, 3:30. If I have time, then we'll go get a quick bite to eat and then straight to the airport. Right, and then the airport, and you get to go home, and you get home like at 9 p.m., and then the next day you gotta go to work. So it's not like I get to sit and chill with the homies and hang out and just have a good time, right? It's work. It's just you're on the go, on the go, on the go, on the go. There's no time to rest. Um, and doing that sometimes 3 times in a month, like it's exhausting. And doing that 3 times in a month for 4 months over a span of 8 years, it gets tiring, you know. So shout out to the general board and the MOP board for traveling so much in such a short amount of time. It's work, man, for them to be taken away from their families for that, period of time. I mean, it was tough for me, and I was single, This is before I got married, and man, for them to spend time away from their families and their kids and their churches and their loved ones, man, shout out to them, because it's not easy.
So, you've been in the ministry for so long. Is the end sooner than later, or you still got a couple more years.
As far as NYAs,
Yeah,
or as far as like MOP.
both. It's
Um,
Or are those really
are they separate?
separate?
no, they're the same. But the biggest thing was NYAs traveling. I haven't traveled quite a bit. I know this year, the past 2 years, I have more delegated people. I've recommended names to the board. Send so and so. Send so and so. So NYAs are it's calmed down a lot. As far as MOP music is concerned, um, I think I'm closer to the end than I am to the middle or to the beginning. Right. I've been doing this for 8 years. I think I'm 35. You know, I think it's time for the youngins, the youth, who are considered, I think, what, between like 15
to 20
to
whenever
25, right? Whatever. Um, I'm not sure they want to hear from a 35-year-old anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't want to be that guy that holds on um, to a ministry that I'm no longer effective in. Not that I'm no longer effective in the music ministry. I don't feel as effective as I used to be. You know, I was 23, 24. I could relate more easily.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm aware of my age. I'm aware of my, how effective I am in my ministry. I'll use this as an example. In Texas, this past year, I was leading worship. Me and Josias were kind of tag teaming. I took on 2 nights. He took on one night. And for some reason, I just felt so like there was a block. Um, and I was struggling. Like I feel like I couldn't connect. Like there's just something like I just can't. I feel like I'm not being effective. So mid set, I turned to Josias. I was like, I need you to take over. So Josias took over the set. He took on, and I told him my voice is gone, and it was gone. But like besides that, I just knew like I'm just not connecting with them. So I told Josias, take over. And when he did, like immediately, I felt like there was a shift. You know what I mean? And so for me, like it was like I was literally envisioning like the handing of a baton, not necessarily to Josias, but just to like
someone
whoever's next. You know. So for me, I think I'm closer. I'm a lot closer to the end than I am to the beginning or the middle. And when I say end, it doesn't necessarily mean the end of ministry. I mean it's time for me to step into a new season. How soon that will be, like within the next year, 2, 5 years, whatever the Lord says. Um, but it'll probably be within the next couple years. But I feel like God is calling me into a new season. And I want to be mindful of that and pay heed to what God wants me to do.
It's awesome, man. Crazy.
I'm getting old, man.
I know. We all
I'm
are.
getting old.
I'm not so young anymore either. But we'll go ahead and we'll wind down with some more light-hearted questions, simple ones. Some things like what do you do for fun now since you're so busy all the time?
Man, that's just so funny. I say I'm 35 years old and I'm getting old. I'm a gamer. I'm a gamer. I'm on PS5, add me, Music Max 7. I play like Fortnite. I play Rocket League. For those that don't know what Rocket League is, it's like soccer and cars. So I play Fortnite. I play Rocket League. I've been on Apex Legends. It's like battle royale type stuff. So I play NBA 2K. So for my pastime, I like to play video games. It's what I do. I play every night. And my wife knows this, and she encourages me. I tell her it's my downtime because sometimes music can become work for me, you know. So like I truly enjoy just sitting down, disconnected, put on my headphones, and just playing video games. Man, it's fun. Some people say like, "Bro, you're 35. Why are you still playing video games?" I enjoy it, man. I truly enjoy it. And I know my wife will tell me if it's getting overboard or I'm more than happy. Like I have no problem turning it off or hanging out with her, and But I check in with her every time before I play. Say, hey, do you need anything? I'm gonna go play a little bit. Um, but yeah, video games is my hobby right now.
Nice. Who are some of your favorite musical artists that you like to listen to currently?
That I listen to currently, man, that's a tough question. Because right now, obviously, Maverick City and Elevation are there, right?
Yeah.
I was actually listening to Elevation music on the way over here. They just dropped an album last night. I'm not sure if you know.
Oh,
They dropped an album, 26 songs.
damn.
But truthfully, I haven't been as relevant in the music scene lately. I haven't had to lead worship in a while, so I'm not like heavy. It's like, oh, what's the new stuff? So I would say the guy that inspired me to sing was Molly Music.
Oh.
Yeah, he was like when he was back in the day, he was kind of still underground, still kind of making a way into the scene. Like he was my guy. Like I tried everything I could to emulate his sound, and in my failure to emulate him, like I found
Yourself.
my sound. You know, so he was my guy. I love the old guys, Donnie McClurkin,
Yeah.
Marvin Winans. Oh man, Marvin Winans is legend for me. But that's kind of who I looked up to growing up. Not growing up, but like when I first birthed music ministry singing. But now I'd say like Elevation, Maverick, the mainstream ones that everyone listens to, right? Although sometimes I'll say Maverick is like they're they've oversaturated the market, meaning like they come out with a new song every like week. Like I don't even have time to enjoy, before a new one comes out. Those are kind of my go tos right now.
Awesome. So we like to end our show with a segment called Mount Rushmore,
Mhm.
and we'll like list off whatever it is, our top things. Since we're all pretty heavy with involvement in convention, we're gonna go ahead and do a Mount Rushmore convention memories for you.
Mount Rushmore convention memories. I would say the first one would be the first time I ever ministered, 2013. That was with Aaron. That was a huge for me. I'm like, man, like I get to be up here. And back then it wasn't like huge teams. It was just me, Ruthie, and then Kim. It's three of us, and then like choirs behind us, right? So I was like, oh man, that's crazy. So that was number one for me. The second would be 2000 and I would say 2014, the very next year. That's when I like proclaimed my love for Ruth. Right. When I have a song, it's called "I Believe" that I released on my album in 2014, and on the bridge of those songs of that song is "I believe it, I decree it, by faith I claim it." So I posted a picture of Ruthie and um, I thought that was the hashtag on Instagram. My hashtag, I believe it, I decree it by faith, I claim it. Basically, like saying, I like you, you're going to be mine, right? And that got me in trouble. But it started the conversation, and now she's my wife, right?
Yeah.
So that's number two for me. Number three would probably be 2019, my first time leading worship for national convention. I sang praise team. I did solos and things like that. But my first time leading worship was in 2019. That was huge for me, and honestly, such a blessing, such a blessing. And then my last Mount Rushmore is in 2020, the next year, not 2020, 2021. Wait,
Going after the COVID years,
yes,
that would have been probably 20,
2021.
or 22.
It was my first year doing production
Mm.
as stage manager and stuff. So I was like, man, this is fun. With very high stress, like having to deal with bishops and no bishop, you're not allowed to go up yet. No, don't, no. Okay, now you can go. So very high stress situations, or changing topics, not changing topics, changing programs. At the last second, like, hey, so and so's gonna go up instead. Oh, they didn't have a interpreter, but now they're gonna have one. We need a mic, right? So like high stress, having to think on the fly. That was such a blast for me. So I would say that would be my final Mount Rushmore. Is my first time doing stage manager at convention in 2021.
Awesome. That's awesome. Thank you, Mike. We appreciate having you, big dog.
Man,
My
thank you for the
pleasure.
opportunity.
Yeah.
Love you
Pleasure.
guys, man.
Next, we'll have you and Ruthie on together. We can
Let's do it.
a couples one.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
advice.
Yeah.
Appreciate you and your wife for giving you the time to come out here.
Yeah, man. Love y'all.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys on the next one.